Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I'm joined by a very special guest. I welcome back Boston University women's hockey player Lacey Martin. Lacey is a Minnetonka girls hockey legend, and this year with Boston University, she had 12 points and was awarded the most improved player of the women's hockey team at Boston University. So congratulations to you, Lacey, of that. But welcome back to the podcast, and how's everything going?
Everything's going good. School is a lot right now. We just started actually training for the off season last week, so kind of getting back in the swing of things. But yeah, just been busy on school front, and now finally training again after a little break. So yeah.
Yeah, how's school, I guess, going for you this year? Is it a little bit harder than last year?
Yeah, I just actually changed my major. So I was a pre-med major going into it, and I just changed to health science. So it's kind of been interesting, like going through a new path and everything and taking different kinds of classes. I've kind of had fun with it. But yeah, making that transition was kind of a lot of work. So I'm glad like I finished that and I know what I'm doing because now I'm not as stressed about it. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. What type of classes do you take for that major? I'm just curious.
um this is my first semester taking it. I'm in like an epidemiology course, which is like calculating different types of like diseases and all this stuff. And then I'm in a global health like critical writing course, which is interesting. I actually I have to take a global health course for my major, but I haven't taken it yet. And I'm taking a critical writing one before. So that'll be interesting because I'm kind of taking two global health courses. And then I'm also in a medical ethics course, which is really interesting, and health and disability. So you learn about like development and disabilities like from young ages as they grow
Mhm.
older. So that's also interesting. It's a lot different, a lot less like sciencey and stuff. So I feel like it's more applicable to life, which is more interesting to me because I just feel like there's more of a purpose for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely more into that for sure.
Yeah, that sounds definitely interesting, but also very challenging. So I definitely see where you're coming from on that. But is that do you want to be like in the health field, I assume, after college?
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure what yet. I still don't know like if I want to do like what I want to do for grad school and stuff. But I think with this, I know BU has a really good internship program through the health sciences school. So um I think I'll do an internship or a couple and see like what I enjoy and then go from there.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I hope it all works out for you. That definitely sounds interesting, especially the global health classes, just because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So there's probably some
Yeah.
interesting things you've learned from there.
Yeah.
Also, is it nice to be back in person in classes instead of being online like it was last year?
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more successful in class just being in person. Last year was a little easier to slack off, especially like sitting in. I shared a room with me and my teammate Julia Shaughnessy, and we were doing classes like 6 feet apart. So it's easy for us to get a little distracted. But I think yeah, it's a little better for me school wise, and like I'm a lot more focused. And I think it's fun to be in person and not sit behind a screen all the
Mhm.
time. So
No, I totally agree with you. I think the only challenging part is getting up earlier. That was the
yeah,
one nice thing with Zoom was you just can get out of bed and like go to class. Where this year it's like you have to get up and take a shower and do all that kind of stuff and actually
yeah,
get ready. So that's the
yeah,
only, I guess, negative part about it for this year for me. But other than that, I feel like I learn a lot better in person,
yeah.
face to face, than I do through a computer screen. So I get where you're coming from on that. So, well, I'm glad things are going well for you for your sophomore year. And hockey wise, how did it go this year just overall before we kind of dive into things?
I think like overall it was a fun year for me. I went from not really playing at all at the beginning of the year to playing a lot more towards the end of the year. So like for me it was a really good developmental year and I grew a ton of confidence. So I feel like for me going into next season that will be helpful. On a team like aspect, I think I mean we had a lot of fun together as a team. I think we wanted to do more than we did. Um, but I think we're going to learn from it this year and take it in next year too. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And obviously, you won the Most Improved Player award this year for Boston University. I want to congratulate you again on that. That's a huge
Thank you.
accomplishment. But
Thank
what was like the biggest improvement you made to your game that kind of led to the increase in points totals? Because I have a guy from BU who watches all the women's hockey games, and he was kind of telling me that you switched from wing to center, and he said that really elevated your game a lot this year.
So I at the beginning of the year I was not playing very much, and I just think like since I was one of the younger girls, whatever, so I wasn't like getting on the ice as much, and so they needed someone to step up and take that center position. And I have never played a game of center in my life ever. Like I've been a wing my entire life, so I was a little nervous when they did that and like didn't know like how it was gonna go. But I think for me too, just because my beginning of the year was not where I wanted it to be, the change in position was kind of a reset, and it was something new and fresh. And so I kind of took that and ran with it, and it let me rebuild my confidence. And so I think, I mean, I'm not perfect at center by any means. Like I still get confused in the D zone because I'm not used to it yet or anything. But I think just the switch itself was like a reset for me and allowed me to kind of start my season in a better way, like in the second half, right after break. So I think that was the biggest thing for me.
And it also seems like it helped build your confidence as the season went along, just because once you started getting those goals, it felt like your confidence grew just from me watching you play. Is that something,
Yeah.
was I right? Am I right about that evaluation?
Yeah, definitely. My confidence definitely grew a ton, and just being able to produce more and feel like I was contributing more to the team also, like for anyone, grows their confidence. So I think that also just let me keep rolling and keep plugging away and hoping to be a good leader on the team and just a producer like I wanted to be at the beginning, but it just wasn't happening. So I think that change really from wing to center allowed me to do so.
And if I'm a Hockey East player listening to this podcast, I would be nervous because that you got 12 points in the second half of the season after you made that transition. Now after a full off season, more confidence is building. I can just see your points total grow even more. So I'll be a little bit
Yeah.
worried if I'm a Hockey East player. Just listen to this because I just feel like you're only going to get better from here on out.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the plan. We'll see. I'm just gonna continue to
Mhm.
work on the new position and see where we go next year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And especially because one thing I noticed about your team was you kind of struggled to score goals this year. It seemed like
Mhm.
there was a lot of 1 or 2 goal games from your team. So I guess like heading into the off season, what is your team working on to try to increase that total of goals from games against top opponents in Hockey East, I guess?
Yeah, mean, we were completely aware that we could not score goals this year. It was a big focus for us in practice, and I think we kind of approached the scoring goals thing a little too late, like mid-season, and then trying to figure it out. It was a little tough for us. So, I mean, we're doing skills stuff now where we're trying to score a ton of goals, like get to the net, and so I think that will really help us. And I mean, last week we started skating together already, so I think just all this time together will help us create chemistry and go into the next year super confident as a team, which I think will help us because this year I think we lacked that a little.
Hmm. And obviously, what are your off-season plans? What are you hoping to work on? And do you have anything fun planned, I guess, non-hockey wise as well? Is it basically just training in school for you?
Yeah, our team is we're not required, but everyone typically stays for we have a summer one session, so we take class in May and June, and then we all train here. So I'll be here at the beginning of the summer, and that's always super fun because I mean you have one class. So I think I have class like Tuesday, Thursday, and then we work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning, and we skate a couple times, and we have like the rest of the day ourselves. So last year we went to the beach a lot and like hung out as a team, and I think that's a really good bonding experience too, is having us all be here in the summer. Yeah, it's super fun. So that's my first half, and then second half I'll probably go home and train with my Minnesota hockey friends and hang out there. So it's nice to go home for a little bit, but I'm really looking forward to summer school. It was really
Mhm.
fun last year. So
Oh yeah, that's also probably nice too with the campus being a little more quiet.
yeah.
Maybe for some people it might not be as fun, but for me, I feel like that does sound kind of fun to have the campus all to yourself.
Oh yeah, it's nice, and we can basically do whatever we want. Like we have our whole day after class and work out and stuff. So
Hmm.
a couple of my friends live, or a couple of our teammates. I mean, Julia, she lives right on the water and like 45 minutes away. So we go there a lot and sit by the pool and stuff, which is nice. But yeah, it's super fun, and we had a lot of fun last year. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
I have to ask, what's better, the lakes in Minnesota or the beaches here in Massachusetts?
Oh
It's honestly hard
gosh,
to
I
choose.
have I have debates about this all the time. I mean, Julia is she was my roommate last year. We're still super close, and we'd always fight about this. But I'm gonna have to go with the lakes in Minnesota just because they're my roots. But I love the beach, so that's a tough answer for me. But I think I'm just gonna have to stick with that because I can't be a traitor. I don't
I
think.
understand that. I understand that. But I feel like the beaches are better, man. That's just my opinion. But
I
who knows?
know.
Maybe because I've never been to Minnesota, so I can't really answer that question. But
Yeah, I mean the lake in my town's pretty nice. It's super fun to like get on the boat and like hang out, and you can like tie up boats with people. I mean, you can do that on the ocean too, but I feel like in Minnesota people take a lot of pride in the lake. So
yeah,
so yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, but
I will say for the lake, the one thing I do like about lakes more than like ocean is just the ocean salt water is definitely tough if you like make a spill to crash
yeah.
in that versus a lake where it's not as salty. So that's definitely the one thing I do prefer about lakes over ocean. But I gotta stick with my roots here in the East Coast. I gotta take the beaches over the lakes. But
Yeah.
I also haven't been to Minnesota, so I can't really answer that question.
Yeah, Minnesota is not very fun in the winter. It's really cold, but in the summer it's a lot of fun. So,
hmm
yeah.
Well, they're hosting the Frozen Four in like 2 years, I think. So I'll definitely try to head out there and see what it's like in April time. So hopefully it's not as cold then.
Oh yeah, it sometimes we'll get a couple snow storms in April, but most of the time it's pretty nice, hopefully.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully it'll be nice then because then Minnesota won't get a bad a bad rep.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see what it's going to be like and see the Excel Center because everyone talks to me about that and see how college hockey does in the Frozen Four there. But that's obviously 2 years away, so I'm
Yeah.
not really thinking about that too much right now.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get back to your team performance this year. So obviously your team lost to UConn in the hockey's playoffs. From your perspective, what'd you take away from that game, and how will your team use that, I guess, game heading into next year to do better in the playoffs? Just because it seems like your team has the talent to beat teams in the hockey's playoffs, just the performances haven't been there yet so far.
Yeah. I mean, playoff games are always fun. I personally think our UConn game, we played well. We just weren't able to finish, and that goes back to like our lack of goal scoring this year. I just think we need to really work on that next year. But I mean, against UConn, we played a really good defensive game, and we weren't terribly sad about our performance. I mean, it's tough to lose a playoff game for sure, but I think we'll just build off of that and bring it into next year because we do want to go further in next year's playoffs. And I know with the talent we have on our team that we can. So I just think we need to be able to finish on our opportunities quicker. I mean, we scored in the first shift of the game, and then after that,
hmm
um, we weren't able to. And we had a couple of chances, but I think we just need to shoot the puck a little more and create more chances for ourselves. But I think that'll help us the most.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the power plays as well too. I feel like that's something I noticed from the game was just how key those penalty kills were for UConn.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, our power play wasn't the strongest this year. I think before I came here, BU's power play was super top notch, one of the best in the country. So I think if we're able to get back to that too, it'll be super helpful because I mean, scoring power play goals is key for sure, like
hmm
in those crunch time moments. So hopefully we can work on that next year as well.
And how did it compare to last year's game against Providence? Was there like anything you noticed? Because obviously it was kind of two different playoff seasons with fans and no fans, and obviously with Providence, half their team was gone for that game. For UConn,
Yeah.
they had like a full roster, so it was a little bit different. So I was curious from your perspective, how did you compare those two playoff games?
Yeah, the environment was totally different. I mean, no fans in Providence and them having like half a roster. It didn't really feel like a playoff game. So I felt like the Yukon game felt way more like a playoff game, and we were more pumped to play that game. I think our performance showed that. I think last year we were a little upset with our performance against Providence. Like we could have played a better game. I think Yukon, we obviously could have played a better game and scored more goals, but I think we came out pretty fast, and UConn was a super strong team this year, so we were happy about how like we matched up with them in that game. Just wish we were able to score a couple more goals and
hmm
win the game, but
Yeah, I thought your team played well in that game despite the loss. I thought there was a lot of offensive opportunities that your team had, and obviously your goalie Callie played fantastic in that game.
yeah,
So, and I feel like defensively you really made it hard for UConn to get some goals, especially since the game-winning goal was kind of a dirty, greasy goal, and that's what I said.
yeah,
I'm like, if UConn has to win this game, they're going to have to score a really tough goal, and that's kind of what happened. So, I feel like there's
yeah,
definitely some positives to take away from that game to build on for next season.
yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, I think just being able to get those gritty goals too will help us. So
Was it nice to have fans back in the arena, especially the BU band? Because I love the signs that they make at your games at Walter Brown.
Oh my gosh, the BU band. I mean, last year our team would always talk about how much they missed the band, and I'd never get to experience that before. And they are awesome. They like make the atmosphere in Walter Brown way better than any other rink I think that we play at. And their signs they have a sign for each of us, and so they're really dedicated, and they make our environment great. I mean, it's more motivating to play in front of fans for sure, and it feels more like the college hockey you've always like dreamed of playing. So I think it was a cool experience to have that this year finally, because we didn't last year.
What's the sign that they have for you? I'm curious.
We just skated with them the other day, so I do know this because they had all the signs there. I think it says like Lacey first place on it, and has like a first place trophy on it or something. It's really cute. They're awesome.
That's
They're
awesome.
like they're our number one fans, and we love having them there. So
Yeah, no, that's something I definitely noticed just watching BU games is how involved the band is. And another thing I noticed about just having fans back was it must have been nice to see your family after games and getting to talk with them since you didn't get to have that experience last year. Because the game I went to, there were so many family members from your team at that game. I don't know
yeah,
if it was just that game I went to or if that's just what it usually is like, but it was kind of cool seeing how your parents were there and like how your other teammates' parents were there too. So I feel like that definitely helps out a lot.
yeah, we do have a ton of parents that come to our games. My parents were out here a ton this year, which is nice because last year I feel like, I mean, not playing in front of fans and like not really being able to do much and not see my family was tough. So having them be out here a couple of times, and my siblings were here a couple of times too, is awesome to have them finally watch me play college in person. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's awesome. And then another thing you got to do this year is you got to play in the Beanpot, something that you didn't get to do last year. So talk about that experience and what you take away from it, especially since you're not from Boston. So I was curious about like what you thought about it coming into it, and now having that experience, what you think about it now.
I mean, not being from Boston, I like heard of the Beanpot before, but then once getting here, like the hype around it was huge, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Like it was definitely one of the highlights of the season. It was just a super fun game to play in, and it felt super high stakes. Like um, going in that game, we were all super pumped, and I just think it's a really cool thing that not any other teams in college hockey get to experience, and so it's a fun thing for us. And um, I don't know, it's super good hockey too. So it was a really cool environment. I mean, there's a ton of people there. We had the earlier game the first time, so we didn't have as many people, but we stayed and watched the BC Northeastern game,
Hmm.
and there was a ton of people there. It was crazy. I haven't seen that at a college game since I've been here, so it
Yeah, I
was
was definitely
cool.
happy Northeastern allowed fans because my biggest fear was like they're not going to allow fans for the Beanpot. And that sucks for the women's teams just because for the men's it's going to be a packed TD Garden and you guys have
Yeah,
to play an empty Matthews. So I'm glad that they changed that rule before the Beanpot because that definitely would have sucked. And yeah, no, the fans were fantastic at that. I didn't go, but just watching it on TV, it looked like it was a great atmosphere. Even for the third
yeah,
place game too, there were still some people there. So that's probably
yeah,
awesome for you.
yeah. It was awesome. Super cool experience for sure. It was definitely one of the highlights of the season for me.
Now, when's Walter Brown gonna host it next? I feel like BU hasn't hosted in quite some time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I asked our hockey ops girl that this year. I think it might be at BC next year. I'm not sure. It's either next year or the next year,
All
honestly.
right.
But um Walter Brown's supposed to be doing renovations soon. I'm not sure if they're starting it this summer or the next, so I guess it'll depend on that as well. But um yeah, I'm excited for that because I feel like out of all the schools around here, we get the most like student body fans, and so I feel like for the Beanpot, like that'll be fun for sure.
Yeah, I kind of hope it happens your senior year. That'll be kind of cool. Like,
Yeah,
the final Beanpot, potentially, obviously you have that fifth year, but to have played at Walter Brown, that'll definitely be a really cool experience for you.
yeah, that would be. Yeah, that would be super cool.
Now, one of my favorite games to watch from your team this past season was when you beat Providence earlier in the year. So I want to ask you, talk about that game from your perspective and what you took away from it, especially since it was earlier in the season. It really helped build momentum for your team, but it was also kind of a good playoff revenge game in the beginning part of the season. At least from my perspective, it looked like,
Yeah,
it seemed like
yeah,
that from
no,
watching your players play in that game.
yeah, we were super motivated to kind of get back at them after the playoff loss the year before, and I just feel like that game we came out of a ton of energy and like super fast paced game. I think that was one of our fastest games of the year. And we had a ton of scoring opportunities, and we were able to finish on most of them, which was super helpful. But yeah, I just think our energy and our fast pace really allowed us to win that game, which was nice.
And your team also beat Vermont this year, and that was a big win just because it was up in Burlington. And Vermont, I believe, was a ranked team at that point when you played them.
Yeah.
So talk about what it was like beating Vermont on the road, because that must have been fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Vermont road trip is super fun. Burlington's a fun town, and I've been there for a youth tournament a couple times um, before coming to college. And so I was excited to go up to Burlington. And I think at that point when we were playing Vermont, they were on like a 9 or 10 game win streak. They had just beaten Northeastern and BC and all these like very good teams. So we went into that game too, like super motivated to kind of end their game winning streak. And yeah, that was, I think the Vermont game was definitely our fastest paced game. And I just feel like we all came together as a team and we really like wanted to take them down. And so that was a cool experience. And it was just a super fun weekend. Like that morning before that game, we went on a walk around Burlington, and like it was a good team bonding thing too, which I think helped us as
Mhm.
well.
And obviously, you got a snipe in one of those games. We'll talk about that goal because it was featured on one of the best goals of the week for College Hockey Talk, and it was just a great goal because it was just from like the hash marks, and you just absolutely roofed it. It was really, really impressive shot from my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we were on the power play and we hadn't scored. We hadn't scored on the power play in so long. So we were just looking to put pucks at the net, and I saw a seam, and then I took it, and I think I got a little lucky because I wasn't sure if it was going to go in or not. But yeah, we were really focusing on just the 3 people up top on the power play to shoot the puck. So that's what I was looking for, and it worked that time, which was which is nice. We needed that power play push that game for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't know if any of the BU band members are listening, but another sign idea is Lacey Sniper Martin. Do you like that? That's a pretty good
Yeah,
sign in my opinion.
yeah, I do like that. Maybe I'll tell him that.
You should. You
That'd be
should. I
really
think that's just my idea. Obviously, they can take it or leave it. It's up to them. But it's just I'm trying to give them suggestions to help motivate your team even more
fun.
next year.
Yeah, no, they would take it. They love to make those. Yeah.
Now, was Gutterson your favorite arena to play in? Because I feel like that's a very interesting rink. Or was it Maine? Or what's like your favorite arena in Hockey East to play in? I'm just curious.
I do like playing Gunderson a lot. This year they were doing some renovations, so it wasn't like as I remember playing when in the youth tournaments, and I loved it. But my favorite ranks to play in, BC is my favorite. I think their like lighting and like the ice is just super good there. I also do really like Northeastern. I'm not sure if I like those two because it's a short drive. So like I just think it's nice that it's 10 minutes down the road. But I think BC's rink is my favorite. Northeastern might have to be my second favorite, but I think I liked Northeastern so much because we played the Beanpot there. So like I just think that
Yeah.
atmosphere was really fun. But I think I'd have to pick BC. And just every time we play BC, it's an exciting game. So that rink reminds me of it too.
Do you guys even take a bus to BC or just walk down? Because it's like on the same street
We
technically.
do take a bus, but it's only a 5 minute bus ride, so I get one song. And
Uh,
I pick like 1 or 2 songs for the bus ride down, and yeah, it takes like 10 minutes, not even.
what songs do you pick for that bus ride? Because you have to pick
It,
like it's like probably a tough decision just because you only have little option.
yeah, no, it changes a lot. I mean, I have a pregame playlist, so whatever I'm feeling that's on that playlist, I'll just choose a couple, and yeah. Sometimes I'll change it up and go to a different playlist, but I stick to that one playlist most of the time.
Yeah, no, I feel like Hockey East has some of the best arenas in college
Yeah.
hockey. I know you've played in a couple of ECAC ones, but I really like it just because there's a lot of old barns and stuff. And
Hmm.
obviously next year UConn's getting a new rink, so that'll be another one to add to your resume
Yeah.
for next season, which should be fun. But talk about what it's like playing in Hockey East, just the competition you face every night, because I feel like Hockey East is kind of an underrated conference for the women's side, just because Northeastern was the only team that made it in the tournament this year. And I thought easily 2 or 3 teams could have made the tournament for Hockey East. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I really think the competition's solid in that conference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Hockey East for women's is super underrated, and I think it is a very deep conference. Some people might not think that, but we had teams like UConn and Vermont that were super good this year and like kind of came out of nowhere. They haven't been super good in the past. So I think that just proves how deep the conference really is. And I mean, it's fun to play in a league like that because you know you're going to get a good game every night you play. So yeah, I think it's very underrated too. But yeah.
hmm And obviously, one question I do want to ask you, because I thought, speaking of BCBU, is your team had to do with a lot of schedule changes this year, because one of those series was the BU-BC series. Always felt like that was getting rescheduled. But how'd you handle the schedule changes this year compared to last year? But it was probably a lot easier this year, just because last year it was basically every other week you were dealing with schedule changes. This year was more just like one part during the season where you're dealing with them. So
Yeah.
how'd you handle that, especially since you're one of the teams that had to do the point-based system? Because
Yeah.
of you couldn't play all the games in the conference this year.
Yeah, I think because of the schedule changes, we lost a game to Maine and we lost one to BC. And the BC one was really sad because we were always excited to have our BC series, but that actually got canceled because it got moved because of the snow, and then our rink generator broke, so our ice was melted. It was crazy, so we we couldn't play that game. But um, yeah, I mean, schedule changes are never fun. I'd say more last year than this year, but we kind of expected them at that point just because of how many COVID cases there were. So we weren't super shocked. But I mean, it's not super motivating to you're supposed to have a game on Friday, Saturday, and then they get canceled, and you practice Friday, Saturday, and then you go to the next week and they get canceled again. It's not fun. But for us, we kind of took it as more practice time to come together, and when we were able to play well. So I think that wasn't super fun, but it's also good training couple weeks for us too. So
Yeah, no. I'm curious, why did they try to play the game at Agganis if the generator wasn't working at Walter Brown? Did they tell that to your team, or was it kind of just they like basketball was using it or something?
yeah, that's the same question we had. The boys played at 7 that night, and I'm not sure if it was a staffing thing, but they couldn't get us in before then. So um, they just had to cancel it. We were trying to get it at BC, but BC had a basketball game going on at their rink, so their rink wasn't an option. And something, I don't know, we asked about the Yanis thing. It was almost there, but it fell through last minute. So that would have been cool too. We're supposed to play in Aganis once a year, and our Aganis game got canceled because we were supposed to play Northeastern in Aganis, but then when our main series got canceled,
Yeah.
then we played Northeastern a week early, and so our Aganis game got canceled. But yeah, that would have been fun, but it just didn't happen.
Have you practiced there before, or you've never even played there at all?
Yeah, we've practiced there a couple times. Depending on we share our ice with the figure skaters and stuff. So sometimes there'll be a double schedule, and sometimes if we want to skate on a Sunday, we'll go to a Ganis instead, which I enjoy because the ice is a lot better just because it's newer. And it's a big arena, so it's cool for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it's one of my favorite arenas in Hockey East, actually, just because of
Yeah.
how nice it is. So hopefully you get the chance to play there at some point next year. I think that'll definitely be fun. Um, but
Yeah.
kind of getting back, one thing I also want to ask you was, what was the biggest thing you learned this year in college hockey, since you dealt with a lot of different things, had a lot of positives and negatives, I assume. So what was the biggest thing you learned as a sophomore this year? Because I asked you last time on the podcast, what was the biggest adjustment to make to college hockey, but as a sophomore, what was I guess the biggest thing you learned this year?
I'd say the biggest thing I learned was the ability to push through adversity. I mean the schedule changes and all that, but just to kind of turn my season around for myself was a huge character development thing for me, and I feel like I could take that into the real world and not just hockey. So I think I kind of learned a greater lesson this year for sure. And so I just think that's really cool because it was a good learning experience for me, to be able to change my mindset and change my season around for the better for myself. So yeah, I think this was one of my most developmental seasons mentally for sure.
And I guess what's your team's goals for next season? Obviously, you said you want your team to kind of improve offensively, but besides that, what does your team, I guess, hope to improve on for next season?
I mean, the one thing we just want to get back in the winning column, so come together as a team and be able to motivate each other to do so. I mean, we started our off-season training already, so we're ready. We want to be prepared for next season, and I think if we're able to motivate ourselves and kind of take this year as more of a learning experience and apply it to next year, we'll be super successful. So.
That's awesome. Well, I know your team is definitely going to be trying for that goal, and I'm excited to see what happens for next year. It should be fun. Have you had the chance to meet any of the incoming freshmen, or when does that happen?
I have met one of them. She actually visited this year. She's from Minnesota. Her name's Maeve Kelly, and she was supposed to go to another school, but ended up coming here. So I met her because I was like her little shadow person when she was here. Took her to dinner and stuff. So yeah, we have a little smaller freshman class next year. So I haven't met the rest of them though. So I'm excited to meet them for sure.
Yeah, that definitely should be fun. And meeting all I think it's cool with hockey because you get players from all different places in the U.S. and Europe and Canada, obviously. So I think it's kind of cool. Where I feel like in other sports, it's like most of the athletes are from like the same kind of area in the country. So I think that's what makes hockey cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. Now this non-hockey segment is a little bit different than the last time I had you on, just because I found some random questions on the internet that I thought was interesting. So hopefully you find them interesting, and if you need time to think about them, feel free to let me know, and I'll just give you my perspective. So are you ready?
Okay. Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, first non-hockey question is: what is your favorite thing about Boston?
My favorite thing about Boston is that there's just so much to do at any time, and everything's kind of at walking distance. So whenever I'm bored, I can just go walk and see like cool thing. I mean, it's kind of nice that Newberry Street's like a 15-minute walk down the road. I can go shopping whenever I want, but I just like that there's so many things to do like right around me, and it's definitely a cool city to live in for sure. I'm very lucky I get to live here.
Yeah, I think for me, this might be kind of a weird answer, but I love the sports here in Boston. I think it's
Yeah.
definitely a unique sports culture compared to other cities. And I love the passion that the fans have here. And yeah, just there's not just like pro sports, but also college sports as well. So as a sports fan, I'm definitely very spoiled to live in an area like this where there's so much to do and see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've never seen a city like so dedicated to all the sports around here. I think it's super cool for sure. I've been to a Bruins game, I've been to a Red Sox game, and so I want to go to a Celtics game at some point, but I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Bruins game did you go to? I'm curious.
I went to Bruins versus Toronto, or
Oh,
no,
that's a good
Bruins
game.
versus Tampa
That's still a good
in
game too.
yeah, no, and that was a super fun game. My roommate had tickets and took a couple of us, so we went to that. Um, but yeah, I want to go to another. It was super fun. It was right when like mask mandate wasn't really a thing, so it
Yeah.
was it was fun for sure.
Oh yeah, Tampa is obviously defending Stanley Cup champions, so that's kind of cool to see that team play. And yeah, no, for I went to the Garden recently actually for the hockey's championship and semifinal games, and I haven't been there in a few years, and it's really cool how they did it. They renovated it now, so it
Yeah,
looks a lot different. It feels a lot cool. So I was definitely glad to be back there. It's such a great rink to see, and obviously for Bruins games, it's awesome to watch. So yeah, that was I don't to be honest, I don't really. I think they lost that game in a shootout. So.
yeah, yeah. They lost in overtime. It was a really good game though. My grandpa's from Tampa, so
You're
I,
rooting for
I was
the
I
Lightning?
was texting him during the game. I was like, guess where I am? But
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so will you ever see them when they play the Wild, or is it
I
just
Yeah, I really want to. That'd be fun. I haven't really. They've obviously played them this year a couple times, but if I can get to one against the Wild, that'd be super cool for sure.
will you wear your like Wild jersey and all that stuff? Will you go all out, or would you want to like?
I actually don't have a Wild jersey. I have a Bruins hat that I that I have, so I don't have any. I don't own any Minnesota Wild stuff, but I do own some Bruins stuff. So
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. So
yeah,
definitely a big Bruins guy here. So no, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a great experience there, and hopefully you can get some Red Sox games coming up this summer since the season's back on now.
yeah, yeah. The Red Sox games are super fun. I went to a couple of them last summer, so I'll definitely go back.
Oh yeah, no, they're so much fun, and obviously when the weather's nice, it's a great spot to be in. But one time I went to Fenway, it was so hot. It was kind of not the better experience at Fenway, just because the weather kind of ruined it. But well, when
Yeah.
it's nice weather though, it's definitely a fun spot to be in.
Yeah, we went last year and it's like 95 degrees, but we get student tickets for only $9, so we take advantage of those a
Oh,
lot.
you
So
have to.
yeah, so that's really fun. But yeah, we went a couple times last summer. For sure we'll go again. It's super cool.
Now, what is the most embarrassing hockey moment that you've ever had?
Um, I'd say I think it was my freshman or sophomore year of high school, we were doing the starting lineups, and I think they normally go left wing to right wing. I can't remember, but they called my right wing's name and I skated up instead, which it's not really as embarrassing now because like no one really knew, but it was super embarrassing to me at the time. So yeah, that's definitely it for sure.
Yeah, it could be worse. I've seen a few people fall when they do the starting lineup,
Yeah.
so it could have been worse for sure.
That's my biggest fear. And during the state tournament in Minnesota, that was my biggest fear because that's like on TV, and that was that was probably like the most broadcasted game I'd ever played in. So I was terrified that I was going to fall in that game, but thankfully I didn't, and I didn't do anything embarrassing in that. So no, my skating up to the wrong name wasn't documented on film. So
That's good.
that's
That's
good.
good. Because if that happened in college, you could easily find that like on.
Oh, definitely.
So that's the one that I guess one nice thing about having it happen in high school is it's not really documented.
Yeah, true. Yeah, for
I think
sure.
for me, my most embarrassing hockey moment was we did this drill where we skated forward, backward from the ice. It was supposed to teach us how to skate backwards in youth hockey, and so
Yeah.
I forgot to close the door and I fell on the bench, which was pretty embarrassing. Luckily, I hopped
Oh
back
my
up.
gosh.
And it was during youth hockey, so that was definitely not documented. So I don't have to worry about that
Yeah.
being released.
That's funny.
Now, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
That's a tough one. I saw on Twitter right before this that Fleury was just traded to the Wild. Speaking about the Wild, that's a cool thing. I never expected happening, but yeah, I'd say that I just saw that on Twitter right before, right before this, so it's the first thing in my mind. But
Yes,
yeah,
this is obviously a hockey-related answer, but I saw that the hockey's championship game this weekend was one of the most well-attended in years, which I thought was interesting. So that was definitely cool to see for the league, obviously. And yeah, I had a great time at that event. So shout out to Hockey East for that. But I feel like it was probably because the state schools were in it this year, so a lot
yeah,
more people were there just because the alumni base is much larger than like a BU or BC.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that was super cool. I saw that too. Um, yeah, there's a ton of people there. So
Oh yeah, no, the atmosphere is incredible, especially for the semifinal UMass Lowell game. It was one of the
yeah,
coolest college hockey atmospheres I've ever been a part of. So that
yeah,
was a lot of
that
fun.
was a cool game. Yeah.
Now, what is your biggest fear?
This is a super weird one, but I like hate frogs. They like kind of scare me. So I don't know why. I'd say it's more toads than frogs, but I think they just kind of gross me out. And so every time my little sister will take like we live by a pond at home, and so we have a ton of baby frogs everywhere. So she'll like pick them up and like run at me, and I'm like terrified of them for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I think it's because they kind of gross me out, but super weird one, but yeah.
yeah. To be honest, I couldn't even tell the difference between a toad and a frog. So maybe because I'm not the brightest person ever, but that I would not know the difference at all. But I could see that. For me, it's probably Um, waiting, I don't like waiting. That kind of scares me a little bit. But for me, actually, the weird one I have is elevators. I absolutely hate being in elevators. I'd much
Oh
rather just
yeah.
take the stairs than take an elevator. So,
Yeah.
not an elevator person. I'll just walk up the stairs.
Yeah. I've gotten stuck in an elevator before by myself when I was like really little at my brother's out of town tournament. So I was terrified of them for a while too, but I got over that a little.
Yeah, no, that's being by yourself is even worse because, like, especially as a kid, like, you probably don't have like a cell phone to call anyone. So, like, I don't know how
Yeah.
you would know
I
how to
mean
get out.
the power went out when I was in the elevator. So like even the call button on the thing like
Oh
wasn't
my
even
gosh, that
working.
freaks me out.
Yeah, so it was scary. But thankfully one of my brother's teammates' dads was a firefighter, so he was able to get me out pretty fast.
Yeah, how'd they know you were in there?
Because my parents knew I was coming from the room down to the place to go eat food. So they were like knew I was somewhere like in
Oh,
I
okay.
must have gotten stuck in the elevator because they couldn't find me. But
Yeah, that would
it took
definitely
a
freak me
while.
out.
It probably felt a lot longer than it was, but it was scary for sure.
Yeah, how long do you think it was? Like 40 minutes?
No, definitely not. Maybe like 15.
Oh, okay. That's
So
not too
I
bad.
don't know. It felt really, really long, but I don't think it was that long.
Yeah, no, that's why exactly why I'm afraid of elevators. I don't want to get stuck in one, but
Yeah.
it, so I had to take one this weekend because I had no choice, and it was I don't know how these media people do it, just taking the elevators to the press box. It makes no sense to me. But
Yeah, it's scary.
now, what is something you did as a kid that you still do today? And for me, is I drank chocolate milk as a kid, and I still do that today. So that's my answer. I'm a big chocolate milk guy. What is something that you do as a kid that you still do today?
Gosh, I guess I'm a big chocolate milk girl too. I just drank chocolate milk after our lift today. That's a good one. I'd say I do that too. Hockey wise, I always braid my hair before a game. Like my ponytail's always braided. I still do that. Um, I don't know. I feel like that's the only thing I can really think of. But yeah.
Yeah. I can't relate to the hockey one, unfortunately. Too short hair to do that, so you just pop
Yeah.
it normal.
Yeah.
Now, how can you tell if someone has a sense of humor?
I think if anyone can make like any sort of situation funny, especially like awkward situations, I think that means you have a good sense of humor. Um, I don't know. I appreciate a funny person. So I think like someone who can make me laugh all the time, they have a good sense of humor for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's like if you have a good vibe with someone. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like when you talk to someone and like, you can just tell that's like it's going well. That's kind of how I tell if someone has a good sense of humor. And I definitely try to I'm maybe not I shouldn't do this at some points, but I try to make awkward situations funny just because it makes me laugh. Some things
Yeah.
that I do, like I try to make myself laugh, which I don't know if I'm the only person that does this. And it makes me such a weird person, but there would be certain times where I try to make myself laugh and no one will get what I'm saying, but I think it's hysterical. So
Yeah.
that's something that I try to do. I don't know if anyone else does that, but me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in awkward situations I like laugh and stuff and try to make them funny. So I
Mhm.
do that too for sure.
I think the funniest one was there was a teacher I had back in like high school that like screamed at the class, and like some kid like said something after she like said something, and it was so hard not to laugh after she
Yeah.
just like screamed the class. So that was one of the shout out to Mike. That was my guy back in chemistry class, but that was funny. I remember that.
Yeah, those are always funny. Like in a situation where you're probably not supposed to be laughing. I always seem to laugh in those. So
Mhm. Oh yeah, no, just because like it's so funny. Like whenever it's
yeah,
a quiet moment, stuff like that. That's definitely I definitely see that for sure.
yeah.
Now, what is the most underrated holiday and what is the most overrated holiday in your opinion?
Um, Underrated, I think St. Patrick's Day. I mean, St. Patrick's Day, I've never seen it such a huge thing and like until I came to Boston.
Hmm.
And it's like so fun around here. Like it's a really big deal. And so I think that's most underrated. Overrated, I'd say maybe Halloween. I
All right,
mean, Halloween's super fun as a kid, but now it's just like,
that's a great answer.
yeah. I think that's probably the overrated one for sure.
Yeah, I don't get the St. Patrick's Day thing just because like I was in Boston and like these people wait 2 hours to get in the bar and just to stand inside the bar. It makes no sense to me.
I
Like, how
know.
is that
It's
fun? Like,
crazy.
so that's the one thing about St. Patrick's Day. Again, like, how is it fun just standing, waiting to get in somewhere, just to wait and standing to get somewhere? It makes no sense to me. So that I
I
was like,
know.
what?
I know. I think the atmosphere just kind of convinced me on that one this past week, but I've never seen anything
You
like it.
stood in line for 2 hours to get in somewhere?
No, I did not.
All
But
right.
I know a couple people that did. But I saw a ton of stuff around here that looked a ton of fun. So
Yeah, it definitely seems
Boston's
fun, but
crazy
like I
like
wouldn't
that.
like I'm not standing in line for 2 hours. I don't care what
Oh,
it
me
is.
neither.
So that
I
was
don't
like
have the patience.
same, but also just it doesn't seem fun to me. And like at some point, like you want to like do something fun, I guess. So that's the one thing I don't get about St. Patrick's Day. But
Yeah.
most underrated holiday for me is Fourth of July. I love Fourth of July just because it's in the summertime. It's always good vibes. Music's playing, good food.
Yeah.
Like no one talks about how fun Fourth of July is. Then most overrated.
Yeah.
Obviously you said Halloween. That was my first answer. I totally agree with you. As a kid, it's so much fun, but once you get older, if you don't like to dress up, it's really just another day. So I don't find
Yeah.
it as fun as other people do. But I guess since I want to change my answer up a little bit, Valentine's Day, I never really understood why Valentine's Day is so popular. I get why people like it, but for me, it's just like I don't know. It just makes no sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. Valentine's Day can be like I feel like some people really overdo Valentine's Day. Like it
I don't
doesn't
mind
have
if you do something for Valentine's Day, but like there's some people like you said that like overdo it. It's like, oh, I just don't get it to me. But that's
yeah,
just
I don't get that either. Yeah.
But for any of you people listening on Valentine's Day, do something on Valentine's Day for your significant other. Don't listen to me. But you
Yeah.
should do something, even though it is a kind of overrated holiday. You should still do something. So
Yeah.
I would like to put that out there, so I don't look too bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. You should definitely do something, but it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I feel like the little things are better anyway.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, and do it every day too, not just on Valentine's Day. So
yeah,
don't do it for the significant holidays. That's another
for sure.
relationship advice for me. Now, I guess last non-hockey question is, if you could guest star in any TV show, what TV show would that be?
Oh my gosh, I love the show Gossip Girl, and like growing up, I like always wanted to be the girls on Gossip Girl. So I think like I don't know if I'd like guest star on that, but like if I could like live their life, I that would be it for sure.
Which
It's just
character
such a
would you
cool like
pick then? Leighton
yeah.
Meesters or Blake Lively's? Or Joe from You. He was in that show too.
Oh yeah, he was in that. I probably Leighton Meesters. I don't know. I really liked her growing up, but I do really like Blake Lively. So
Mhm.
either would be fine for me. I just think their life is super interesting.
Yeah. Would you want one of those people to play you in a movie if there was a movie made about your life?
No, I would want Blake Lively to play me in a movie. I love Blake Lively. I think like as a person too, she's like a super funny person. So
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't know
Yeah.
who would want to play me in a movie. Probably like Tom Holland or like Cillian
Yeah.
Murphy, like someone or Tom Cruise, someone like super cool that would make me look
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
someone like that for sure. But now getting back to some, I guess, hockey questions. One was, what is your thoughts on your last interview since we had you on? I had the chance to listen to some of it before this interview, and to be honest, I thought I did okay job for one of the earlier ones, but I definitely was a little nervous and could have been better. But you did fantastic. So, but I was curious if you had the chance to listen to it and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, my I thought our like first podcast, I had never done one before, so I was a little nervous as well. But I thought like the conversation was like supernatural, and it wasn't as like I don't know what I like about this podcast. It just feels like a conversation, and it's not like a full like interview and like a lot of stress on me. So I just think it's like a fun outlet too, because you get to know people more on a personal level. So I think it's cool. Yeah, I did listen to some of it. I'm not a huge fan of listening to myself
I
talk.
understand that. I don't listen
So
to many of them either, so don't worry.
so I don't get through very much of it because it kind of makes myself cringe. But no, I like that it's more of a conversation aspect. Like I have a lot of fun filming these. So
Yeah, no, definitely. And hopefully at least some of your friends get to listen to it, the whole thing, at least so they can tell you about it, some of the stuff you
yeah,
said.
yeah. No, some of them do. They do tell me about it. My parents listen to it too. So
Oh, awesome. Well, shout out to your parents for listening. I
yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, no, I guess, is there any guests that we should have on in the future? I've interviewed a few of your teammates, but I don't know if there was anyone that in particular that we should interview from
Oh
both
yeah.
Minnetonka and from BU as well, by the way, for
Any of
teammates.
my teammates would be perfect. I mean, my class is super fun. You've had Catherine on before, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, for my class, Julia Shaughnessy and Maddie Cardesi would be hilarious. They are very funny people. Super outgoing too, like super personable. So I think they'd be fun. Um, I don't know. I have my good friend from Minnetonka plays at Cornell. Her name's Rory Gilday. She's a super nice girl too. So she'd be a fun one to have on as
I
well.
actually had her on this past summer. I don't know if
Oh,
you saw
really?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before
Yeah.
she went to Cornell. It was a really nice person, like you said. Yeah, super fun hearing her perspective, just because she was one of the best, apparently one of the best players in ever in Minnetonka girls hockey history.
Yeah. She's super good. Yeah. And you had on Lisa LaRoche as well, didn't you, from
Oh
Minnetonka?
yeah, I have had
Yeah.
her and her sister on as well.
Yeah. Olivia's on too. Yeah. Olivia's graduating this year. I did. She's going to Sacred Heart, so I'm excited for her. But they're great people too. So, I mean, anyone honestly. But
Yeah,
yeah.
no, definitely for sure. So, well, thank you for the suggestions. We'll definitely reach out because I love having the BU women's hockey players on. I think I had everyone. The most highly suggested player was a BU hockey women's hockey player was Julia Neris, and once we had her
Oh
on,
yeah.
it was definitely a fun interview with her. So, we
Yeah.
definitely got to get more of you
She's a
on.
funny girl.
Oh yeah, no, but she's awesome and one
Yeah.
very underrated player, honestly, in my opinion. I don't think she
Yeah.
gets enough credit than she actually gets.
Yeah, I agree. She's a super good player. Really, really fun person. So I'm glad you had her on here. She's fun to talk to for sure.
Awesome. Well, is there anything you want to talk about? Any shout outs? The floor is all yours. Any family members, friends, teammates you want to shout out, or you could just talk about whatever you want. It's up to you. The floor is all yours for this final minute.
I just want to say thank you for having me on. Like this is super fun, and I love talking about this stuff. I always enjoy filming these. So I just want to thank you for having me on again for sure.
No
But
problem. Thank you so much for working with us, Lacey, not just on the podcast, but other things as well. Check out the daily vlog that we did with Lacey back in November. That was a great, fun
yeah,
thing to film. So, but it's fun working with you other stuff, and I'm excited to work with you for more stuff in the future. So this isn't the last time you'll be seeing Lacey on College Hockey Talk platforms, but thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. From that
yes,
perspective, you're a great person, great hockey player, and just super fun to talk to. So thank you so much. And it was so awesome to see the great season that you had this year, and I know you're just going to continue to get better. So thank you for your time,
thank
and
you.
just thank you for everything. It really means a lot to myself.
Thank you so much.
Now, I do want to shout out one person. I want to shout out Brady. He does the BU hockey show. He helped me out with the interview for recently, so I want to give him a shout out since we had a BU player on. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a great
Yes, I
guy.
do.
So,
Yeah.
so shout out to him. But thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, that's the interview. But one thing we do with